Good morning. Today is the first Sunday in the season of Advent, a season of hope leading us up to Christmas. Advent comes at a time of bleak, deep winter in other parts of the world, where in the past food was scarce, and if you didn't prepare or weren't able to prepare, then death was a real possibility. The message on this first Sunday of Advent is hope, like the banner says. The message that hope is real was important come this time of year. Religions of all sorts schedule joyful feasts in the dead of winter to enliven people with hope that they had, as a community, prepared, and that winter will break at some point into a new spring. Whether winter or not, whether prepared or not, worry and hopelessness can easily take hold of the human heart. This is the universal value of Advent's message of hope, a message needed at this time of year. For Christians, Christ is our hope. Christ is the arrival of sure and certain hope eternal, that neither winter nor injustice nor even death can unravel. Christ is coming, is the message of Advent. Grace and mercy are coming this Advent. Better is coming from God to you. What are you hopeful about right now? How big and grand do you dare to hope? Are you hopeful about a romantical relationship? Are you hopeful that the coming year will be better than the last? Is your hope resting on the shoulders of your well-laid preparations, plans, and hard work? Is your hope the faithfulness of God, a good God, faithful to you? Or is your hope being sapped? What is sapping your hope these days? Is it terrorism? Is it racism? Is it the loss of meaningful work? Is it the potential and looming loss of someone you love and depend on to love you? What is allowing hopelessness into your heart? The prophet Jeremiah, our first reading from the Old Testament, had a calling to speak hope to hopelessness. He was a prophet to God's people during a time of war with Babylon, and when that war was lost, and when the Jews were captured and marched from Israel to the distant land of Babylon. Jeremiah preached hope, and that only the hope found in God is one to be trusted, even in war. Yet he also knew that his preaching was hopelessly in vain, as the kings of Israel refused to trust in the possibility of God's peace, and instead trusted the false hope of their victories, a victory of chariots and swords and tactics and strategy, a victory that never came. Jeremiah preached hope of return to Jerusalem when he was marched with God's people 900 miles to Babylon, hopelessly further and further away from their homeland. While captive behind walls and spears at the will of the Babylonian emperor, Jeremiah preached the hope of a renewed Jewish kingdom in Israel, of the kind that King David built, founded on faithfulness and devotion and worship to God. He preached hope in times that seemed hopeless. Jeremiah preached of hope for renewed prosperity, a future justice, lives lived at peace to God's war-torn and hopeless people. Do you hope for peace in this world, or are you hopeless? Do you believe a just world is possible? Do you believe you will ever live in a peaceful world where neither soldier nor refugee are on the march? What would it take for this world to be at peace? There have been so many false paths to peace. So often the human response when peace is desired is the election, the rising up of a dictator. If I have control, I'll make everything better. So said Mao. So said Stalin. So said Hitler. So said the kings of Israel to the Jewish people as the Babylonians were marching right towards them. If I have control, I'll make everything better. There are so many supposed paths to peace and prosperity peddled to us, and again, our human paths prove themselves hopeless. Where is hope to be found these days after so many false prophets of peace have disappointed us? God thinks there can be peace in this world and justice. God tells us in his holy scriptures that there are cause for hope. God tells us that the only place we can find hope is Christ. Christ is coming in power and with the goal, aim, mission of peace. God's path to peace is paved by something more sturdy and lasting than anything a human can devise or promise. There is a more deeply rooted and powerful theology on which to build our hope than guns. God's path to peace is paved with sacrifice. Not yours, but Christ's. Christ's sacrifice and our forgiveness for misplaced hope. Christ sacrificed his life to bring eternity to all. Christ's sacrifice brings about a kingdom that Jeremiah preached about, that Jesus taught about when he said, "Love thy neighbor." It is a kingdom greater and kinder and more life-giving than anything any politician can promise or engineer, can build, or general can capture. It is greater because it will never ask for all you have, promising you everything, but giving you nothing. This is so often the human bargain offered to you again and again, promising you everything and giving you nothing. This is what's offered in war, by greed, by anger, by fear. There will be many peddling their peace to you. But Christ's peace is free. It's certain. It's eternal. And Christ offers us all his sure hope for peace eternal. So at this time, on this first day of Advent, the question is, where does your hope rest? With Christ or some other guy? May you be blessed hearing this sermon as I've been blessed preaching it. Amen.